So we've got Ableton. In the background, which you can't see, is the max patch, which allows native mode to work, and also hotkey as well, which is translating MIDI into keystrokes for Ableton. So it's a good idea when you turn it on to press setting, just to make sure that the max patch doesn't think that shift is being held down. Sometimes if you've got some weird, something you don't quite understand what's happening, it could be that. So this port button here, when you turn it on, the XY pad has a secondary function, which is as a D-pad and enter. So you can use it for scrolling about in Ableton, like this. And when you press in the middle of it, you hit return on whatever it is you've got in Ableton. These four. Obviously the top one you use for changing the scenes. At the moment we're on scene 15, we'll come to that in a minute. So next one here, press it and you'll see the clip details at the bottom change. The setting button again acts as shift, so hold that down, press it, and you flip in between arrange and session. Next one flips the focus, so actually just click on the top of that to make it a bit more obvious. Focus is in the clip details down here, press it again, focus is back up in the clip grid up at the top there. So that doesn't have a shifted function yet. That's very useful as well because it'll always bring you back to focusing on here. I find that useful if I'm DJing or whatever. You know, you can scroll about, launch new clips to play along. Then if you want to affect whatever's going on down at the bottom, there we go. Then that'll allow you to use your pre-assigned knobs to that's because Flossy's on. To mess around with whatever the things are down there. So you can see how that works. Right, so take the focus back to this. We've got an audio track over here, an empty one that I've set up to drop tracks into. Press this third button and you'll see that it toggles through the various browsers, hides it, toggles back through again. So we've got some tracks here. The focus is now in the browser over here. So using the D-pad, it'll scroll through them. That one's about the same tempo. If you just press return on an audio track, then it'll load it into it'll create a new audio track in Ableton. I'm using my finger pointing at the screen rather than the mouse, not very helpful. Obviously you might not want that, you know, like you might already have a track set up with effects on you want to load it into. So to do that, you will set the focus back onto the clip grid, select wherever you want to put it. There's just fine. Go back to that track. And then you hold down shift and press that, and its secondary function is to drop that track into the slot that was last selected. The focus is then on that slot, so if you press return, then that'll load or start playing. So you can see how that works. Just turn the volume down on that a bit. Okay, enough. So that's the functions of these here. So now on scene 15 here, these scenes are all, I've got notes on them set up as before. Scene 15 has been set up so that, and scene 14 and 15 have been set up so that if you set them to send out, well, I guess notes or continuous control messages, then they'll be sent out of a different port, which will then be hopefully picked up by autohotkey. So you can use those two scenes for sending out functions that you want translating into keystrokes. And on scene 15, I've set it up to have a load of continuous controller messages already, or at least they should be. Sometimes it's a bit confused as to what it is, so it's worth checking that it's on the right thing. Just press that and it'll realise. This has all been sorted out so that it works a lot more reliably than it was, because I put CC support in to start with as a bit of an afterthought, so now it pretty much works. So you don't need to change any of them. They need to send out a value of 127, like a velocity of 127. So this velocity key here allows you to set a fixed velocity, which you use the encoder for. There's clearly an error in my Ableton with the autohotkey script somewhere. So anyway, set the velocity to 127. Then these keys here. This one we'll start with. Up here we've got the global quantize. Press that. It'll toggle on and off. This next one, when it's on, these two allow you to step through different values. So this one on the end here is the record quantize. The record quantize, in case you don't know what it is, automatically records the notes you're playing in. So if you're having problems getting your hi-hats hitting on the 16th beats all the time, or 16ths of a beat, then you can use record quantize. It's here on the edit menu. It's on no quantize at the moment. This will toggle between it. It just toggles between no quantize and 16th note quantize, which is the one that I find of any use. So that's quantize. You'll have to play with it and you'll figure out how it works. We'll get this track playing again. Flip over onto it so you can see what's going on. Right, at the moment the focus is up here on the track, so we want the focus to be down on the clip details. So press that, the focus goes down. These two here are zoom in and out, so we'll zoom in. This one up here allows you to follow. This is undo, this is redo. These three I'll get onto if I've got time. Down at the bottom here, holding this one down, it's like holding control down on the keyboard, which I use with the controlling the loop brace when I'm looping. This one here hopefully should set loop, should set a 16-bar loop. Yeah, there we go. Right, this will then toggle the loop on and off. Toggle it on. This one should select the clip brace, which you can then move about like this, and that'll force the play position to move with it. Sometimes if you hold control down, then you can change the length of it. So zoom in a bit. Okay, you might find that useful. I find that useful if I've got a lot of tracks playing and I'm wanting to set one of them to loop and then set effects onto. So turn the loop off again. This loop doesn't seem to be working quite perfectly, so I'll have to look through the